Hi, I'm Michelle Roberts, and today we're going to be looking at the Active 30 and how we can increase the number of children in schools taking part in 30 active minutes daily. Okay, so the workshop aims looking at the daily 30 active minute challenge and what schools can do to achieve the 30 minutes. We'll look at the research and evidence and how key components can support schools with increasing physical activity. We'll look at some of the barriers, key partners who can support you, and we'll review the available packages and programmes. So the research indicates prior to COVID that less than 30% of children were doing 30 active minutes a day, and this data came from the Active Lives survey, where it says that only 17.5% of children were doing 60 active minutes a day. The importance of physical activity in promoting children and young people's well-being is also very clear now, and unfortunately we were looking at 1 in 8 5 to 19-year-olds having at least one mental disorder. Unfortunately, as a result of COVID, that could have increased, but certainly one thing that we do know that's had an increase during the COVID pandemic is the number of children who are inactive. So we are looking post-COVID to try and address that issue. Now, what works in increasing physical activity in schools? There was a Public Health England report that was reviewed and updated in July 2019, and they looked at 8 key principles that needed to be in place for schools to increase physical activity. So it's a multi-component approach, needing a skilled workforce, engagement of pupil voice, looking at your environments, making sure children have got choice and variety, that it's embedded into the curriculum, that you look at promoting active travel, and also personal goal setting with daily challenges. You can see how that might look in a school. So simplified in a multi-component model, we're looking at active playgrounds, active outdoor spaces, active classrooms, and then daily active blasts, which could be led by pupil leaders, and then active travel. But underpinning all this is the ethos and mindset of the school as well. So that is fundamental to any change that could take place in a school. So we know there are barriers. We know that there is limited capacity. TA support could have been cut in your school. So really we're saying that we need to try and find ways that teachers can integrate it as part of their day. So it could be just a simple warm up at the beginning of a lesson, looking at active classrooms, having a look at your timetable. Is there gaps in the timetable where you could have an active 15 minutes at the start or an active 15 minutes in the middle of the day? And looking at trying to get it every day, but look at your most inactive days to start with. Are there perhaps 1 or 2 days in the week where children in the school are not doing PE and they're quite an inactive days? So then working on those 2 days initially and then trying to build it towards 5 days. And also looking at your facilities. What sort of classroom space do you have? How could you use your outside space more effectively? Do you need to look at your room arrangement and gaining access to equipment? The 30 active minutes, what can count towards the 30 active minutes? So we're really saying this is where all children involved, so active travel to school can be included. You can include lunchtime activities where all the children are engaged, or a significant amount of them. You can break the 30 minutes down into 3 lots of 10 or 2 lots of 15 minutes, so it doesn't have to be 30 minutes every day. It can be spread across, and it is part of the guidance on the PE and school spend, so it is indicator 1 on that spend. So we're going to look at an example timetable, and when we're talking about example timetables, we're looking at children being able to have a variety of options There's nothing worse for some children than having the daily mile every single day. Some of those children who really do not like physical activity, having to do the daily mile is not necessarily the answer. So what we're talking about here is trying to get a varied programme. So there may be a mile a day Monday, for example, but on a Tuesday you might have an alternative activity in place. Ask the children what they want, and then you'll find that that if it's been something that they've wanted, they've had a say in, and other teachers have had a say in, you'll start to embed it into the school ethos and culture. You can see there an example of a timetable that we put together. So you've got mile a day Monday, thinking Tuesday, so you can bring in some of the active literacy and active maths programs that are out there. Wheelie Wednesday, so we're not having any balls in the playground on a Wednesday, we're looking at how we can promote the use of scooters and bikes, etc. And then with Thursdays, it's Tune It In Thursday, so when we're looking at some of those music programs like Joe Wicks, Wake and Shake, Go Noodle. And then on a Friday, we're looking at Fun Time Friday, so children choosing activities based on a menu of options. Now, you might not be able to put this kind of timetable in straight away. It may be that you look at introducing a couple of these ideas and then build towards a full programme. What we found is when you name a day like Mile a Day Monday or Thinking Tuesday, you're actually building up the child's expectations. So they will be asking the teachers and the TAs, oh, it's Wheelie Wednesday today. What are we doing with Wheelie Wednesday? So you're starting to build that ethos and culture and that expectation. Thinking about your playground, how active is your playground? Is it inspiring? Who are the children who are not active? Have you asked the children what they think about their playground? What would they like to improve? We have had some schools who have used the Heartline, which is a British Heart Foundation marking. Even the smallest of playgrounds have been able to adapt some of those Heartline markings to try and encourage the children to be more active. And there's a small playground there with some of those markings. Here's the Heartline, and what one school has done is to remove the snake in the middle and put some tricky math shapes instead. So these are just ideas, and it'll be a case of looking at your playground and seeing what works for you and what you need. And you can get good playground markings for under £2,000. I think some schools are struggling because capital is fixed at under 2,000. But playground markings is a bit of a grey area. It's not really capital, and some schools have successfully put these in for under £2,000, thereby the capital issue doesn't come in. Active miles. So where schools choose to take part in an active mile, you should use your existing playgrounds. And obviously, if you start to put a track in, that could be regarded as capital expenditure. So what we're really looking at is trying to use existing grounds and trying to make the best use of those. Now, we often get asked, is the funding continuing after August 2020? The answer at the moment is we just don't know. Early reports pre-COVID suggested that there was funding that will continue beyond 2020 and hopefully beyond 2021. So I think in the current climate, it would be very difficult for the government to pull the funding at this stage. However, obviously we haven't had confirmation on that at the moment. So with active spaces, use your existing space to mark out a track. You can develop a multi-purpose track, which could be used for a range of activities such as scooters and bikes and walking and outdoor learning. Try and link it to other curriculum subject areas such as maths and make a literacy trail. Can you set personal challenges for individuals and include team events? Investigate what other outdoor spaces you have and could develop in the active mile. And visit other schools to gain some ideas and collaborate, because that's really the best way of seeing what's out there. Now, this was a track in a primary school in Cornwall, so they already had a woodland track going through. and then they were able to complete it with a whole circle going around. Parents were involved, it didn't cost very much at all, and they were using existing spaces. This is one that was developed in Delabole and Tintagel, and again, part of the track was already in place, and they were able to use alternative funding to put a multi-purpose track in place. So this is Menhenia. Again, they were able to use some other funding, and then what they've done with their PE premium is look at funding equipment and markings to go onto the track. So where you see the space there on the right, I believe that they have got some fitness markings there now. So if we're talking about tracks, the money can be used for staff training and effective use of the tracks. You can buy balance bikes, learn to ride bikes, scooters. You could get pedometers to measure the impact before you put the track in, and obviously post after you put the track in, and see what the difference is in the children's activity levels. You can put competitions and challenges on a track, and you can fund equipment for playground leaders to use the track. Now there is active classrooms is one of the bigger challenges, trying to get teachers to engage in getting their classrooms active. iMoves is a programme that is definitely worth a look at. If you go to iMoves.com, you will be able to find lots of different resources there, ranging from Pilates, yoga, to active blast, to active literacy. And this particular slide shows a science warm-up. And there's some funky music going on, linking to materials and their properties. And we're asking Key Stage 1 children to move like Peter the pipe cleaner by bending and twisting, move like Reggie the rubber band, and Sally Spun. So it's just thinking about all those words that they'll be talking about with materials and their properties, but making the start of the lesson a little bit active. And iMoves has got a lot of activities and suggestions for how you can do that. You could just buy into the blasts, which I think costs around £300 for a year's subscription to buy into the active daily blasts, and they've got lots of different activities which they change on a daily basis. Or you could buy a full programme, which comes in around £900, which gives you access to a whole platform, a digital platform of over 1,000 different lessons and blasts. Okay, and active travel. So again, this can be part of your active 30 minutes. Are you promoting travel to school? Now, we recognise that it's not all possible for every school to be involved in this if they're not in a particularly safe area for travelling to school, but that may be why you might include a Wheelie Wednesday, so that their children can use bikes and scooters within the school grounds if they're not able to travel safely. But Sustrans are there to support and help promote active travel where it is safe to do so. So do get in contact with Sustrans if you're not already involved with them. The Big Pedal took place in April 2021. There will be another Big Pedal, I'm sure, in 2022. So it's the UK's largest inter-school cycling, walking and scooting challenge. It runs for 2 weeks and it's open to individual classes as well as whole schools. And it's a really great way to get children involved in scooting, biking, etc. And as I said, if you can't do it by getting to school, then you can do it within the school playground. And there is a competition online, so worth looking at if you've not been involved in it before. So I want you to get active now, because we've obviously been sat still for far too long listening to me. So I want you to pretend that you're on a bike, and I want you to put your hands up in front of you as if you're holding the handlebars, and I want you to move with the film that I'm going to show you now. So pedaling away, pedal, 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 pedal. Imagine you, and now we're going for a jump up and sit down in your seat as you're watching this. So jump up, sit down, jump up, sit down. Big jump coming up. And hold your position there, holding a balance. You should all be standing up now. Pedal, pedal, pedal. So I want to see you pedaling as you're sat there in your chairs, moving your legs, pedaling. Jump up and sit down. Jump and freeze. Holding it still. And then lean to the right. So as you're sat in your seat, I want to see you leaning to your right. And we're holding on. Lean to the left now as you go around the corner. And then stand up and balance. And keep going. Keep pedaling. Pedal, pedal, pedal. Keep pedaling. Stop and take a breath. Hopefully you're feeling very inspired there. So looking at active leadership, maybe you could think about upskilling your pupils to support the 30 active minute challenge. Have a go with Wild Tribe Maths leaders. We have on our Wild Tribe site some introductory activities around using a raccoon circle. Maybe you need to give your playground leadership a boost using Sugar Smart activities and Sugar Smart ambassadors. Can they form part of your active timetable with the children choosing and providing responsibility? Can you lead activities for younger children, including daily baths, daily miles and playground games? Really involve your leaders. Wild Tribe Maths leadership. We've got some Wild Tribe maths leaders who lead maths activities for children, and they use the raccoon circle. There's a website reference there if you're interested in looking at what that maths leadership can look like and taking maths outdoors. Lots of different programs there, all providing resources that can be used to get active classrooms going. We've got Arena Sugar Smart programs, we've got Wild Tribe Outdoor Learning programs. Absolute Education is a really useful participation monitoring tool that schools can buy into. The Youth Sports Trust have got active school planner monitoring tools. We've got the Taking Maths Outdoors, and there's a whole range of website programs, web-based programs like Go Noodle, Body Coach, etc., that are all free that you can access. And you can also register to become a Sugar Smart school at sugarsmartuk.org. So do have a look at those. There's an example, if you subscribe to Absolute Education, of the kind of data that can be produced for your school around after-school clubs and lunchtime activities. So a really useful, powerful tool there of monitoring what's going on in your school. If we're looking at the Ofsted framework, obviously we need to be looking at your intent. So what is your intent for the PE 30 active minutes? How are you going to implement this, and how will you know the impact? So the intent could be to decrease the number of children active for 30 minutes a day. You could implement this through training staff and leaders, purchasing of the equipment, looking at a participation monitoring tool, and setting personal challenges. If you're going to do all this, do apply for some accreditation, and then you'll have a range of qualitative and quantitative data to work through and support your PE plan when you're measuring that impact. There was new guidance brought in September 2020, which was Statutory Guidance on Health Education, and this is very much focused around the active 30 minutes, but also about mental well-being. And introducing the 30 active minutes is key to the delivery of your health education. So really, if you want to get a number of children in your school involved and increase the number of children active for 30 active minutes, it's around ethos, mindset and culture. Start with a quick win. What are you already doing to achieve the 30 minutes? Look at the multi-component approach. Who can you get on board in the next half term? What can you do to start to improve activity in your playground? How active are your classrooms? How can you involve children in choice and variety? Can they set personal challenges? Start an active travel campaign to promote your active travel. But in order to make change, you have to start to make it part of the culture of the school. You have to build the mindset of the pupils and staff, ensure it becomes part of the ethos. Think about what you could do differently to make the greatest impact. At Dartmoor Sports Partnership, we've been working hard to look at our packages for next year. We do have a health and wellbeing MOT where we come into your school, take a really good look at what's going on and advise you and write a report and signpost you and support you in promoting and developing health and wellbeing. We have Healthy Hearts and Healthy Minds programme. That's actually at Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. So looking at delivering physical activity alongside mindfulness and really getting the children to think about what it means to have a healthy heart and healthy mind. We can come in and look at your school and go through the 30 active minutes and support your school in how we increase this. We also have Sugar Smart Leaders, Sugar Smart Minis, and also our Wild Tribe Outdoor Learning programme. So do have a look at our packages and email Kim if you would like any further information. Here's some references from some of the documentations that I've looked at. Do have a look at the Arena Schools website where you will find a lot of information about our programmes alongside the Dartmoor Sports Partnership programmes. My contact address, email and mobile phone number is at the bottom. Please do get in contact if you have any further questions. I hope you found that presentation useful and informative, and enjoy the rest of the conference.